Hey, bookkeeping friends, have you ever said yes to a client and immediately realized that you didn't fully understand what you were walking into? Hi, I'm Veronica Wasek, the unstoppable introvert, and I help bookkeepers to move from fear and uncertainty to confidence and control. In this video, which is actually a webinar recording, I'm sharing how a paid diagnostic review can help you move from uncertainty to clarity and how it can help you to work with clients who trust you, who value what you do, and who are willing and able to pay for your services. Today's webinar is about the Paid Diagnostic Review, the #1 system to stop free work and win better clients. So what will we learn today? We're going to talk about offering the Paid Diagnostic Review, following the Paid Diagnostic Review workflow, presenting your findings to the client with impact, transitioning your clients to high-paying services, and then we'll go over Q&A. As always, I like to remind you that I have been there. I have made all the mistakes. In fact, when I got started 15 years ago, there wasn't a Veronica I could follow or somebody else telling me all these things. I had to figure it all out on my own. It was difficult, but after a while, I developed my systems, my processes, my way of doing things. But yes, I have given work away for free just countless times. I've taken on cleanup clients, had no idea what I was getting into. They tell you that, oh, I have just a couple of accounts and maybe clean up my chart of accounts and just do a little bit here and a little bit there. And then you get into some massive cleanup and commingling. I mean, just every bad type of cleanup that there is out there. I have seen it. My team and I did hundreds of cleanups and then I realized that, oh my gosh, I didn't charge enough or, there's so much work that they're never going to pay me, $10,000 to clean up their books. And I started charging hourly too. So it was a problem. Okay. And so I got to a point of I've had enough doing too much free work, even doing free diagnostic reviews. I know some of you are still doing free diagnostic reviews. So let me know in the chat. Are you still doing free diagnostic reviews? But I just got to a point of I've done too much free work. I've given people all of these diagnostic reviews. I'm giving away my expertise and they're not even paying me for it. And remember that clients don't really know what's wrong with their books. And then like in my case, they would come to me and I would like spend an hour, 2 hours going through their books, giving them my findings and just so that they would just walk away and disappear. But I had shown them exactly what was wrong with their books. And so that's when I realized there is value in what I'm doing and I need to find the clients who value it and who will pay for it. And as I will show you, it works. So I did find the clients who valued working with me and who were willing to pay not just for the diagnostic review, but also for the cleanup. So that's when everything changed, when I realized I have something of value. And that's when I developed my paid diagnostic review process. And I see some of you, maybe you might be offering the 15-minute smart review. All right, so let's talk about the paid diagnostic review. And what is it really? So it's a paid project. So that's why it's called Paid Diagnostic Review. It's a paid project. You're going to assess the health of your client's QuickBooks file. You're going to diagnose problems and assess the level of cleanup that their books need. You're going to identify transactions that need to be brought up to date. You're going to get a clear scope of work. And you're going to sign up the client for additional work. And really the key here is that not only are we going to essentially get to look under the hood and get paid to assess the extent of the cleanup or catch up that we need to do, but the bigger purpose is to sign the client up for additional services. And it's a very effective tool for doing that. Let's just define what a cleanup is so we're all on the same page. So what is a cleanup when we talk about doing cleanups? We're essentially working with clients who probably attempted to do their own bookkeeping. Sometimes maybe another accounting bookkeeping professional might have messed up the books. Maybe they connected QuickBooks with an app and now they have a giant data dump. So anything that has led to either messy bookkeeping or incomplete bookkeeping, and typically it's a combination of both. So when we have that, so they have books, they're messy and incomplete, we are going to review the books, get them caught up. We're going to fix the problems. We're going to get everything reconciled. So essentially, we're going to do the cleanup, as we call it. And the end result should be complete, accurate, and tax-ready books that are cleaned up at a transactional level. So the books are cleaned up at a transactional level, and we're not using just journal entries to move stuff around, because if you know QuickBooks, you know that journal entries don't always clean up things. And in fact, they generally don't unless you specifically need to use a journal entry to clean something up. So what is the value of the diagnostic review? So you're going to learn what the client is like to work with. You get a scope of work, so it reduces surprises to you and to the client. You're able to give the client a recommendation of services, which really then puts you in a more advisory role. It puts you in control because now you know exactly what needs to be cleaned up, and the client isn't telling you to hey, just clean up the chart of accounts, right? And it lowers the risk to the client because of all the reasons too, that you are going to just take a look and at their books, review their books, diagnose them for a certain fee, a certain price. And so they're taking a smaller risk. They're getting to see what it's like to work with you. And then it really lends itself to building a more solid relationship than just jumping into a cleanup, not even knowing what you're getting into. Now, let's talk about how to offer the paid diagnostic review. And this is one thing that I asked on Facebook, and some of you responded, how do I convince the client, or how do I get them to pay me? Like, I can get clients to allow me to do the paid diagnostic review, but how do I convince them, or how do I make them pay me for this? Okay. And some of you are worried about, what if they don't let me look at their books, or, just, I think a lot of this is your own mindset is holding you back, because you're probably sitting there saying to yourself, why would they pay me to do this? Like, why wouldn't they? So is your doctor sitting there wondering if you're going to pay them for your consultation? Is your car mechanic worried about whether you're going to pay them for an oil change? Is a lawyer worried about that you're not going to pay them to consult with them? Nobody's worried about it. Okay. There are no other service providers that worry about it. We tend to do that in our industry for whatever reason. And so we need to, again, remember that we deserve to be compensated for our effort and our expertise. And notice I didn't say time, I said our effort and our expertise. So do you have to convince them? Not necessarily, but there is a way in which you present the diagnostic review to them that I've done it hundreds of times. It works. Okay. So here we go. When you're talking to a prospective client, the majority of them are going to tell you why. Like, I will ask, why did you reach out to me today? Okay. So very simple question. Why did you reach out to me today? And they're going to start telling you all the bad things, okay? My books are messed up. I tried to do my own bookkeeping. I synced my QuickBooks to an app, and now I have a mess. My business is in e-commerce, and my accountant does not understand e-commerce. My last bookkeeper messed up my books. Whatever it is, they're going to tell you all of these things, okay? Or like, I got QuickBooks, I thought I could do it on my own, and now I'm in over my head. I used to ignore all of this. Like, you really need to listen. You need to take notes even. I take notes when they're telling me that. And so you're going to listen, because those are all of the pain points. Those are all the things that they're wanting you to alleviate. Even the fact that I tried to do my own bookkeeping and I messed it up. They're coming from a place of vulnerability when they share that with you. And so they're wanting you to fix it, and they're wanting you to not make them feel bad about it. So there's a lot of emotion that is there. So they're looking for someone to essentially rescue them from their situation. So after I've talked to them and listened to them, then you then go into your advisor mode and you say, here is what I recommend. Okay, so this is how we switch the conversation. Here's what I recommend. Notice that we're not pushing something. We're not selling something. It's just you are a professional making a recommendation. So what do I say to them? I recommend doing a paid diagnostic review of your book so I can get a clear picture of what's wrong with your book. At the end of my review, I will go over my findings with you. I'll also give you upfront pricing for my services. This helps us both understand what's going on in the books and exactly what needs to be fixed. So notice I led with, I recommend doing a paid diagnostic review. Okay. I always say paid so that they hear that very clearly. Okay. So I'm going to say that to them. And then I immediately talk about pricing. Okay, so you need to give them the pricing. Don't wait for them to ask for pricing because some people will never ask you for pricing and they'll be surprised that you're even charging them. So you have to be 100% clear. The pricing for the paid diagnostic review is, okay, whatever that is, you give them the amount. Don't worry about what if they have 10 bank accounts or 5 bank accounts. Don't worry. And we'll talk a little bit more about pricing here in a moment. Just give them a price because you want to get them signed up for that service on that call. Okay. So the pricing for the paid diagnostic review is, and then you give them the price, say $500 or whatever. And also, I don't use dollars. I just say the pricing for the paid diagnostic review is $500. So, and a lot of times they will agree like, yep, that sounds good, but how much will you charge for the cleanup? Okay, because they're looking at their risk and then can they afford you? And so they will ask how much will you charge for the cleanup? Or if they don't ask you, you generally want to also provide this information to them. So let's just say that they asked you how much will you charge for the cleanup? And then you say, I don't know exactly what the pricing will be for the cleanup until I complete the paid diagnostic review. But clients your size normally pay, then I try to give them a range. Okay. So what does this do? It takes away the fear and the risk that like, oh my gosh, I can't afford you. How much are you going to charge? I have no idea. And it also qualifies that prospective client. Because wouldn't you agree, if that person can't afford your services, there's no point in continuing to extend the whole selling process, because then you're going to turn around and do a proposal that's going to take time. In case it took at least an hour and then I stressed about it for 2 weeks before I even got the courage up to send the proposal. Then you have to follow up. Then you don't hear from them. And then you're wondering what happened to them. So save yourself all that headache, okay, and qualify them during that first call. So once you tell them it's a paid diagnostic review, you give them the pricing, you give them the ballpark amount for the cleanup, then you ask them, this is my magic selling phrase, would you like to move forward? So again, very low pressure, very easy for us to say. We don't feel anxiety over like, I have to be salesy. Just, would you like to move forward with these services or with the diagnostic review? And so they'll either tell you yes or no at that point. So I told you that I would talk about pricing the paid diagnostic review. So you have a couple of options. One is to price based on revenues. And these are just guidelines. This is what I have used for pricing diagnostic reviews. You can charge whatever you would like. And if you've never charged for diagnostic reviews before and now you want to, maybe it might make you feel better to start on the lower range just to kind of get your courage up and charging for the diagnostic reviews. And so option one is pricing based on revenue. So you can see then up to $500,000. You could charge $300 to $500, $500,000 to $1 million in revenues. You could charge $500 to $750, and over $1 million, you could charge $950 plus. The other option is based on the number of months that you are reviewing. So, for example, if you're reviewing 5 months, you could charge $500, up to 9 months, $700, up to 12 months, $900. While I was still running my bookkeeping business and we were working with e-commerce clients, I charged it was $997 for a diagnostic review. And notice that I didn't worry about how big, how small. It's much easier to offer the client the paid diagnostic review and to give them an amount on the spot, because then you stand a much higher chance of closing them, of getting them signed up for that service in that first call. So the end result of doing the paid diagnostic review and pre-qualifying that client is that when you work with a client who's willing to sign up for the paid diagnostic review and is generally okay with a ballpark figure that you might charge for the cleanup, then you have a pre-qualified prospective client. They show that they value your proposed services. They demonstrate that they're willing and able to pay for your services. And very important, they show that they're willing to let you control the process. Because as you know, many clients want to control the process. All right. So now let's go into the cleanup, or the paid diagnostic review workflow. And if you have been following me for a while, you know that I started out keeping track of everything I needed to do and keeping track of clients with yellow stickies all over my laptop and my desk, and I just completely out of control. And then I started using Excel spreadsheets to document my workflow, which worked for a time. Then I switched over to Asana to manage workflows. And then I found this amazing tool called Keeper. So I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Keeper because they are our sponsor. And if you haven't heard of Keeper, they are an all-in-one client communication workflow and reporting tool designed specifically for bookkeepers and accountants. I have known Ben Stein, Keeper's co-founder, for several years. He reached out to me when Keeper was a little baby, and they impressed with some of the videos I was putting out about managing workflows. And so I feel like I was a little part of Keeper there when it started, but they're an amazing team. So if you would like to know more about Keeper, you feel free to use my affiliate link. But we said we're managing the paid diagnostic review workflow. So this is the workflow. So you're going to start from the left. You're going to request information from the client, and I will talk about what that is in a moment. We're going to perform the diagnostic review. We're going to then prepare the report of findings and recommendations. We're going to present the report to the client, and then we're going to sign up the client for more services. So that is the order of things and how it goes. So what are the things that we're going to request from our client to do the paid diagnostic review? We're going to ask for access to the client's QBO through using the accountant access. We're going to request business, bank, and credit card statements for the periods that we're reviewing. And we're going to get a copy of the last corporate tax return. So in the U.S., that would be for an S corporation, C corporation, and a partnership. You don't need a copy of the tax return if they are a sole proprietor. And again, all of this is for U.S. corporations. So you don't need a whole lot of access and things to start the diagnostic review, but those are the three key things that you do need. And to do the diagnostic review, we need to follow a checklist. There's a list there of all the things that is on my checklist. So from reviewing the tax return, Schedule L reconciliation, bank and credit card accounts, undeposited funds, profit and loss accounts, balance sheet accounts, accounts receivable and accounts payable agings, the chart of accounts, products and services list, payroll, sales taxes, inventory. But you know what? I decided I was going to show you the checklist because I've never really done that before. So let me get that on my screen. All right. So this is the magic and secretive checklist that I have. And it's also part of my QBO Paid Diagnostic Review System course that it comes with the checklist. So I'll go over some of the things that are on the checklist here. So, and you'll see at the bottom all of the different tabs for all of the areas that are reviewed. And then we start with the company name, the period we're covering. We're getting information about how they're set up for tax purposes, basis of accounting, etc., the version of QuickBooks that they're using. Let's take a look at the reconciliation for to the tax return. So you'll see that you'll have different areas where it's asking you, like, for example, here, does a reconciliation between QuickBooks Online and the tax return need to be performed? So then you'll have findings, either cleanup needed. So if I switch it to cleanup needed, notice that then my recommendation changes, and you'll see why it's important that we have a recommendation here in a moment. Let me go to profit and loss. So here, for example, we have an income section. Then we have income section, but we're talking about income. Then it goes into cost of goods sold, expenses, etc. And this is actually listing all of the areas that need cleanup. So there's actually a lot more in the checklist, but it's right now only showing the things that need to be cleaned up. So you'll notice that it's asking, for example, are there any negative or unusual balances in the income accounts? And then we say, no, it's okay, not applicable, or in this case, cleanup needed. So if that's the case, then we need to enter the account category, the number of transactions, and the date range. If you want that level of detail, I like to put it there because then it's really showing the client exactly what's wrong with their books. We'll put the amount, we'll put the recommendations, and in many cases in my checklist, the recommendations will be filled in based on whether you marked that it needed to be cleaned up or not. So then you don't have to sit there and kind of guess, how would I word that so that it makes sense to the client? It's already worded for you. And then I even have a column for internal comments, so comments for me or my team based on what they found. You'll see that we have the chart of accounts, and then it's checking different things as far as volume or number of account categories. Is the chart of accounts reasonable for the company's industry? So let's say that we said no or cleanup needed. So then notice the recommendation, review and reformat the chart of accounts for meaningful reporting. And as you can see, then it just continues on for all the areas that I mentioned. And then there's even a template for if you need to add new sections. So that is the Paid Diagnostic Review checklist. And I'm skipping over those because I've already shown you that. So if you would like to know how I review for some of the areas, like how am I checking, what am I checking for, then here's a link to my playlist on YouTube for all of my QBO cleanup and diagnosis videos. And there are videos where I go in and check the balance sheet, the P&L. I go step by step. All right. So then once we have worked through the Paid Diagnostic Review checklist, once we've done the diagnostic review, then we're going to present the findings to the client. So, and this is the key part to then how do we begin to build that foundation for now signing the client up for additional services? Because it's great that you're going to give them your report of findings, but they need to take action for the next step, which is to sign up for services with you. So a key part of that is presenting the findings to the client and doing it with them via Zoom, showing them the problems. You show them the report of findings. You show them okay, this shows that you have, 100 items in undeposited funds that need to be cleaned up. And then you go show them in QuickBooks, and here it is. Okay. I think it's really important because I feel like it rubs the salt in the wound, as they say, to show them specifically what is wrong. They really appreciate that. And this meeting is going to be about 45 minutes long. Now, I know that some of you record a video for your client and send it. I know that might save time, but in my case, and again, having done hundreds of diagnostic reviews and cleanups, that I always met with the client via Zoom and show them exactly what was wrong in their books, and then presented additional services, which I will show you in just a moment. But yeah, so we're going to meet with them, show them exactly what's wrong, and then I will show you now, again, never before seen this one, the report of findings. So this will have the company name, which, by the way, this is just a made up company, not an old client or anything. So it is a formal report that you will give the client. Actually, you give it to them like 5 minutes before you meet with them. Do not give it to them any earlier than that. Okay. You want to not really give them a chance to go through it. You're going to go through it with them. So we have a cover page. We have the purpose of the diagnostic review right here. then we're showing them the period that was reviewed right there. And then we go into the key financial areas assessed. And the first one is looking at the QuickBooks Online version and user permissions. Many times you have clients who have old accountants, bookkeepers. They don't even know that they're there. So we would check for that. But notice that I just took a screenshot from the diagnostic review checklist. Okay, so this saves a lot of time. Now, if you have bought my QBO Paid Diagnostic Review System course in the past, I have updated the course. So it now shows you how to go in there with the new checklist to then get all the screenshots. It saves a ton of time. So that was a screenshot from the diagnostic review checklist. Then next is the balance sheet reconciliation to the tax return Schedule L. That wasn't an issue here, so we didn't need too much. Then we have reviewing bank and credit card accounts. So we're looking at a whole lot of things with bank accounts. Here's just an excerpt, whether you have old transactions in the bank feeds, whether the accounts have been reconciled, whether you have old unclear transactions in the bank reconciliations, maybe if the bank reconciliations have been changed since they were reconciled and maybe the beginning balances are off. So all the things, all the problems that untrained users have with QBO, then you would check for those things. And so we have undeposited funds and then profit and loss, just an excerpt here. Again, where we're copy pasting from the checklist, and the checklist is formatted in such a way that you can just go in and get the columns that you need. And notice the recommendations, because remember I said the checklist will pre-fill those recommendations for you. So you're not having to sit there and wonder, how do I say this to the client, or even wasting time with ChatGPT, who may or may not know or what you're really trying to say. All right. So this is the rest of the report. I didn't fill in all the recommendations, but you get the idea. Let me get back down to the last. Okay. So now we're going to talk about transitioning to high paying services and how do we transition? So we have met with them, or we are meeting with them via Zoom. We're showing them the report of findings, and then we're showing them what we found on QuickBooks, and then we're going to transition them. So this is what we need to say. Here are the services I recommend. So we're going to tell them the services that we recommend. The pricing for these services is, then we're going to give them a price, and then would you like to move forward? All right. So going back to the report of findings, once we finish showing them everything, then we're going to say, here are the services that I recommend or that we recommend. And notice that we're then offering cleanup and catch up services, maybe even coaching the client, training them, possibly consulting, monthly bookkeeping services, just again, showing them all of your service recommendations. And then you're going to give them the pricing for all of these services. I would probably, if I were doing, let's say, cleanup and consulting together, I'd probably lump it all. You don't need to be giving them like this costs $500 and this costs $1,000. You just give them a lump figure for all of that. And then you can give them the monthly pricing for bookkeeping. So it's that simple, really. You just have to get over the fact that you're intimidated by or about talking about money. You're intimidated by that. So just if you follow these steps, it takes the pressure off of you and off of your client as well. So once you give them the pricing for the services, then you're going to again use the magic phrase, would you like to move forward? Because again, very low pressure. So they're going to say yes or no at that point. Hopefully, yes. I think most of the time I probably signed up 90% of the people who came to me for a paid diagnostic review, who signed up for the paid diagnostic review, 90% signed up for ongoing services. So our takeaways, the paid diagnostic review is a repeatable system. I have done it hundreds of times and it works. So don't allow yourself to get stuck in that mind space of somebody's not going to pay you. Okay. Because we said again, you deserve to be compensated. You are bringing a valuable service to your client who in many cases has no idea what's wrong with their books. You can get paid for diagnostic reviews. Like I said, once I decided no more, okay, I'm charging for these. I did every diagnostic review I did since, and it was hundreds of diagnostic reviews I got paid for. You can work with clients who value what you do and are willing to pay you. Sometimes the ones who are not willing to pay you are not the right clients. Okay. So you might have to maybe look at why you're attracting the wrong clients or maybe work on your marketing and positioning, but the right clients will pay you. And then you just need to follow the process that I shared because it is a proven process. As I said, I've done it hundreds of times. I hope that you're starting to see how a paid diagnostic review can help you to go from uncertainty and lack of confidence to clarity and moving forward with confidence, knowing what to do. To help you take the next step, I've created a free SMART review checklist to show you how I evaluate a client's books in just 15 minutes so you can move forward with clarity. And remember, if this introvert can do it, then you can do it too. I'll see you next time.